ecosystem status reports for the large marine ecosystems of Alaska. Ecosystem scientists at the Alaska Fisheries Science Center develop these reports every year, and they become anthologies of the ecosystems as we know them. To characterize ecosystems as diverse as these, we need a collaboration as diverse as the ecosystems. That's why every year, over 100 Alaska Fisheries Science Center researchers, other scientists, industry professionals, and community members contribute to our reports. It's this collaboration that helps support some of the most successfully managed fisheries on the planet. Alaska's waters are broken up into 4 large marine ecosystems, from the Gulf of Alaska, Aleutian Islands, Eastern Bering Sea, and the Arctic. Each of these LMEs contains an incredible amount of life that varies with the seasons and under long-term climate change. The North Pacific Fisheries Management Council is responsible for managing over 140 target species. And in order to understand the dynamics of any one target species, we have to be able to zero in on what affects them. But in order to do that, we have to start broad.
Much of my research over the last couple of decades has focused on how climate variability and change relates to the marine ecosystems of the North Pacific. And I kind of want to know what is just a kind of a random fluctuation from something that is going to be systematic and something we're going to have to deal with in the future.
Once we have a feel for the big picture of what's happening with the climate, we can start to dive into the details of what's happening with the food webs and the interactions in each ecosystem.
Seabirds can tell you a lot about an ecosystem and the food web. They're a lot of times called sentinels of the ecosystem. They're out there sampling as they're eating, feeding on anything from plankton to forage fish to juvenile fish species, and they're sampling a pretty broad spectrum of the food web. And so when there's a change in the ecosystem, you might pick it up in seabirds before you'd pick it up in another way.
From seabirds to bottom temperatures and everything in between. It's a lot of information that comes together fast in a massive collaboration every fall.
It takes strong communication, collaboration, and transparency to pull that information together in a way that's informative to support sustainable fisheries management.
The ecosystem status reports are presented alongside a stock assessment for each of the target species. That's called ecosystem-based fisheries management, and it's one of the reasons Alaska's fisheries have remained sustainable.
The ecosystem-based fisheries management is another policy perspective that the North Pacific Management Council embraced early on in its management, which I think has greatly benefited us.
Our community members are really sampling every different level of the food web, and that provides a rich knowledge base and contextual information that can be really important for the ecosystem status report.
It's always a good test to go talk to somebody who is out on the water every day in one particular place and they know it really well, and does what we're saying and describing about what's going on in the ecosystem fit with what they're seeing out on the water.
I have captains that have been on the Bering Sea for 30-some years. And so the ecosystem status report is a way to increase that communication.
Humans are an integral part of the ecosystem, and fisheries management decisions directly or indirectly affect all of us. Hearing from diverse knowledge sources better informs our research and leads to better fisheries management decisions.
Shared observations are really essential. They help us to create a more full picture of what's going on in the ecosystem.
The ecosystem status report is what I describe as a safe place to have conversations.
Makes us more willing to kind of throw out some ideas.
It creates a diverse pool of information.
It just helps position us for the future.
And we encourage everyone to check these reports out so that we can all be informed about the waters that we depend on.
We want to listen, to hear your stories, to understand your perspectives. Join the conversation.